This is an honest and unsponsored review of the new Blanche Masterclass sets Volume 3 and 4. On YouTube, Army Painter gets a lot of praise, but after testing these two sets, I can't quite agree. Instead of Blanchitsu, there's now a warm and cold theme with lots of bright vivid colors. Is this still grimdark or just milking a cash cow? In this video, I'm testing all 20 new colors, telling you what I liked and what I didn't, so that by the end you'll know whether these sets are a genuine upgrade for your paint collection or can be safely skipped. So for this review, I've prepared 3 segments for you. First, we're looking at the 10 cold colors from set 3. Second, we're going through the 10 warm and high saturation colors from set 4. And third, you'll get my honest verdict and I'll tell you what type of painter I'd recommend the sets for and for whom not. Because not every paint is equally well suited for every painting style, and with my channel I want to help you find the best miniature paints for your needs. Because painting is way more fun when the paint is working for you, not against you. By the way, I'm Stahly from Tale of Painters, in the Warhammer and miniature painting hobby for over 20 years. I'm a complete paint nerd, and on my channel all I do is reviewing the latest hobby paints. I also made this library of professional hand-painted color swatches for you to download. First, a disclaimer. I received the paints for testing, but I'm not one of the Army Painters inner circle of sponsored content creators. On YouTube, you'll find many videos that rave about Army Painter and the Blanche paint sets in particular. My reviews are always honest and independent. I stand by that with my mask. I'm very happy to tell you when I find something really good, but when I have criticism, I don't hold back. And I do have a few things to criticize about the new Blanche sets, but more on that later in the video. Right, let's get started. The presentation of the 2 new sets is identical to the first 2 volumes. You get 10 completely new Warpaints Fanatic paints in 18ml dropper bottles each, as well as a small art print by Blanche himself. The Army Painter pulled off a real coup, winning the legendary former Games Workshop art director in his retirement for their brand. The first 2 sets, which appeared at the start of 2025, covered the classic grimdark Blanchitsu palette, which is at least partially inspired by the Swedish painter Anders Zorn. Additionally, there were some darker colors meant to fill some gaps in the Warpaints Fanatic core range. The 2 new sets now move away from the classic Blanche palette, but were at least created in close collaboration with John. One set is devoted to cold tones, the other to warm. Let's start with Volume 3 and the cold colors, which is quite fortunate as I've got more positives to share about this set than Volume 4. Right, Volume 3 contains 8 acrylic paints in the familiar Fanatic quality, plus 2 new washes. We have cold blues, teals, magenta and brown. Let's start with the teal paints. There's Dew Path, a mid-tone teal, which is somewhat more desaturated compared to the turquoise paints in the core Fanatic range. Next, we have Bramble Grove, also a teal, but significantly more of a teal grey. Now, these do exactly what you expect from Fanatic paints. The covering power is excellent, the consistency is somewhat thicker, so you should add a drop of water, and the finish has a slight satin sheen like Citadel. Both colors pair well with Pine Hollow shade, a dark teal wash. Like all Fanatic washes, it has high surface tension and flows easily into the recessed details. Teal-colored washes are rare, so Pine Hollow shade definitely goes into my collection. For highlighting, you'll find Sky Shard in the box, an almost white turquoise that's even lighter than Marine Mist from the core range. I mixed this to lighten Dew Path, which reminded me of some of the issues I've always had with Warpaints Fanatic. Sky Shard leans toward that very thick, pasty consistency that some Fanatic paints are prone to. It seems to me there's too much pigment in it. Maybe it's just my bottle, but the paint seems tacky even when thinned. And because Fanatic paints also dry comparatively quickly, this made it more difficult for me pulling off advanced techniques like feathering and edge highlights. Or is it just me? Please tell me about your experiences with the Warpaints Fanatic range in the comments. Other modern paint ranges like Too Thin Coats, Ionic or the new Vallejo Game and Model colors have an extended drying time. The longer working window makes it easier for me to achieve smoother blendings and accurate edge highlights. For the other half of the set, we have a dark blue Shadow Thorn and a medium blue Frost Whale. I have to say, these are quite similar to existing blue paints in the Fanatic core range. The same applies to Moon Petal and Iceborne. Here too, there are overlaps with the pink and desaturated violets from the core range, as you can see here. Additionally, Iceborne has the same problem as Skyshard, it's a bit clumpy. Now, if you already own many Fanatic paints, definitely check my hand-painted Warpaints Fanatic swatch before buying the set. I've now updated it with the John Blanche paints. With the swatch, you can see exactly whether you already have similar colors in your collection. The update is free if you have the old version, and there's also an update for my 7-in-1 color matching document. This document has all the colors from the most popular paint ranges like Citadel, Pro Acryl and Warpaints Fanatic. Over 1,200 colors in total, all clearly organized by color families in chroma. It's the perfect reference for matching colors between different manufacturers or planning your next project or paint purchases. For details, check my Patreon or the video description below. One of my favorite colors from the Volume 3 set is actually Ashroot, a desaturated brown with a hint of violet. You don't really find a brown like this in other paint ranges. It fits well into the set's color palette, and I can also imagine it very well as a base color for dark skin. Last but not least, we have Nightroot Shade, a desaturated dark purple wash, more muted and purple toned wash from the core Fanatic range, or Druchii Violet from Games Workshop. Right, that was my breakdown of the colors from Volume 3. For a verdict on the sets, please wait until the end of the video. But first, I'm going through all the colors from Volume 4, and here I have to point out a few more things that didn't quite work for me. Volume 4 also has 10 colors, 8 acrylic paints and also 2 new washes. By the way, the art print is the same as in the other set. Most striking in Volume 4 are definitely the 4 high saturation colors. Bright, punchy colors aren't the first thing I think of with John Blanche's art style, and the Warpaints Fanatic range isn't exactly known for its vibrant colors either. This set is probably an attempt to address that issue. We have Sun Petal, a saturated neutral yellow, reminiscent of a bismuth yellow, but of course doesn't contain genuine bismuth pigments. As you can see, it has high saturation but covers quite poorly over a dark base coat, as you would expect from a bright pure yellow. Warped Yellow from the core range covers much better after a single coat because it has more white opaque pigment in it, but is thus more pastel. So that's the difference. Then we have Ember Veil, an intense orange that you can't see here on the test model, and Bloodthorn, a hot pink. The paints flow better than most other Fanatic paints as they're somewhat more fluid, probably because they're not so overloaded with pigment and opaque fillers. More pigment isn't always better, too much can negatively affect the flow properties or brushability of a paint. The colors pop nicely on white undercoat, so mission accomplished. But as you can see with Gladeshard, which is the light, vibrant green, even on white you would need to apply multiple coats for an even base coat. So these vivid colors are a quite nice addition to the Fanatic range. However, it must be said that the army painter hasn't reinvented the wheel here. High saturated paints with pure pigment mixes have existed for a long time in other hobby paint ranges and of course artist acrylic paints. But it's nice to have that option within the Warpaints ecosystem as well. Then we have some other colors in Volume 4 that are more muted. Thicket Grove is a dark olive green and Root Path a dark khaki brown. Here again there are overlaps with very similar colors from the Fanatic core range. So consult my Warpaints Fanatic swatch for comparison to see whether you really need the John Blanche versions if you already have many olive greens from the core range. Halfborn is a light Caucasian skin tone. There are already very many skin tones in the Warpaints Fanatic range, this one is a bit more yellowish. And then there's Umberroot, a dark warm brown. Somehow the Fanatic range has problems with dark brown paints. They all seem so dull compared to most other paint ranges, and Umber Root is no exception there either. It goes somewhat in the direction of Carnelian Skin from the core range, so basically more of the same. Again, it's the washes I like the most in this set. Grove Hollow shade is a nice olive green wash that I've just used in my free Nurgle Rodswords tutorial on Tale of Painters, and Wine Root shade has the color of spilled blood. It goes in the direction of Berserker Blood shade from Games Workshop, so that makes it a really nice alternative. That covers all the colors from Volume 4, and as you may have noticed, this set raised a few more concerns for me. Having said that, here comes my verdict and recommendation, where I'll tell you whether and for whom I would recommend the two John Blanche sets. If this video has already helped you so far, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll help you find the best paints for your hobby. Right, I've had a few points of criticism in this video, but much of it was complaining at a high level. However, if you're not a fan of the Fanatic range, these sets won't convert you either. But if you like Warpaint's Fanatic and the chosen colors trigger something in you, then you might enjoy these sets as well. I find Volume 3 more cohesive in terms of color selection. The cold blues, teals and magenta tones harmonize well, and the cold brown is really nice to have. Additionally, the colors are all somewhat desaturated, which plays to the strengths of the Fanatic range. On the other hand, the colors in Volume 4 don't quite go together for me. Here, warm, grimdark olive and brown tones, which already exist in similar form in the core range, meet vivid colors. Bright, high saturation colors were indeed missing from the Warpaint's Fanatic range, but when I want high saturation colors, I would turn to other hobby paints anyway that do this much better. For example, Ionic, Louise's Pro Acryl Signature Series set, or the soon-to-be-released mini colors from Artis Opus. I feel the John Blanche name is ultimately just a gimmick at this point. Both sets don't have much to do with grimdark anymore. That's why I'm giving the sets a 7, 1 point less than Volume 1 and 2. If you want something more grimdark, then make sure to check out the new Dark Arts paints from Two Thin Coats. You'll find out what these do differently than the Army Painter in the video on the right, where I also have a comparison with the first two John Blanche sets, so go watch that next. Thanks a lot and happy hobbying!